Front Room. Today we'll be continuing with the Lord of the Rings How to Play series. We've covered movement and getting started in previous videos, so now we are on to shooting. So if you haven't gathered already, the shooting phase comes after the movement phase, and whoever had priority shoots first, and then their opponent shoots after that. So here on the table in front of us we have three variations of bows. These are the most common variations, not the only ones. So we have over here, we have an orc, and he has an orc bow. Here we have a Rohirrim, and he has a man bow, or just a standard bow. And finally we have this elf, who has, of course, an elf bow. It'll say what kind of bow your warriors have in their stat line, or when you purchase the bow for them, it will tell you can make a bow for such and such bow for such and such points. The differences between the bows is their range and their strength, or rather their range and strength in combination. So here we have the orc, who has a strength 2, range 18 bow. Here we have the Rohirrim, who has a strength 2, range 24 bow. And here we have an elf, who has a strength 3, range 24 bow. So as you can tell, the man here has the sort of middle ground with strength 2 from the orc and same range as the elf. First thing we need to do in the shooting phase when we want to shoot is we need to find out who can actually shoot that turn. Now, it may seem obvious, but they need to actually have a missile weapon equipped in their profile, or you must have to have bought one for them. Like we said in the movement phase video, if you want to fire your bow, you can't move. However, if you do move, you mustn't move over half of your move, which is usually 3 inches. But if you do move, you get a negative modifier that we'll come to in a moment. So if we look at this, and these two elves didn't move in their phase, we know that these guys, they can shoot. However, these ones down here are locked into combat by these orcs here, so they can't shoot. So, let's get to resolving the shot. These two elves didn't move, so what we need to look for in their stats, we need to find fight value, because next to fight value, you get their shoot value. So here's an example just here. We see Man of Gondor, fight value, 3, 4 up. I know they're not Men of Gondor, they are Elven warriors with a fight of 6, shoot value of 3 up. So that means basically we need to roll a 3 or higher to hit with an elf. So we're going to try and shoot this elf at him. He's clearly within 24 inches, which is the range of the elf bow that we can check in the rulebook if it's any other kind of bow. So I need a 3 up to hit this goblin. I didn't. However, let's say I did, for the purpose of this example. If I didn't hit, all that would happen, I didn't hit, so I can't resolve the wound, so the goblin's not in threat in any way. In this example here, I did hit, which means, well, the goblin's hit, but it's not over for the goblin yet, because we still need to wound the goblin. So now we've successfully hit the guy, the orc, we need to wound him. So if you go into your rulebook, find what's called the wounding chart, the wound chart. And all we need to do is we need to go to our strength. So we've got our strengths down the side. We need to find the strength of our bow. In this case we're using an elf bow. We're at strength 3 down here. And we need to find their defense. Now their defense will be on their profile. So check the profile for an orc. They have defense 4, and they don't have any shields or anything, and they haven't been upgraded to have better armor. Orcs can't, but some models can. So that means they stay at defense 4. And if you look, then find defense 4 along the top of the chart. If we just track down, we'll find that strength 3 against defense 4 is a 5 to wound. So we need a 5 to kill this orc, and we don't kill him. So he's not killed. Then we can move on to another archer. So if we have multiple archers, we can start with whoever we want, as long as it's our priority, and then we can move on to whichever archers we want. So I've only got one other archer, so I'm going to move on to this archer next. He's going to shoot the same target. Hit. So he needs a 5 to wound, and he does wound. In this case, this archer has wounded. He's fired at the same orc. This orc has been wounded. Now, the orc only has 1 wound in his stat line. If we go to his stat line, the first W in his stat line is his wounds, and we can see that this orc only has 1 wound, and he's just taken a wound from the shot, which means he's dead, he's gone, he's removed from the game as a casualty. You probably want to leave all your casualties together somewhere, on the edge of the board or something. You can count them later, and we'll come to that in a future video. So after the first side has finished shooting, it's time for the second side to shoot. So if we look at the orc, we see his, so this orc wasn't here before, he is now, but he didn't move in the movement phase. So we look at his shoot value, next to his fight value, we see it's 5 up, so he needs a 5 or higher to hit. In this case, he's got a 3, so he's missed. But if he did hit, if he did get that 5, we would then go a wound, so he's trying to wound this elf. We look at the elf's defense, we find out the elf's defense is 3. We look at the orc's strength, the orc's bow's strength, we find out that is strength 2. So if we go to our chart, we look at strength 3 against defense, strength 2 against defense 3, we'll find out that we need a 5. We need a 5 on the d6, so we'll roll for that, and we do. We kill the elf. So, because the elf only has 1 wound, and we've inflicted 1 wound, the elf is dead. He's gone. So that's the basics of shooting if you haven't moved. But if you have moved, so we'll do a quick movement phase before we do this example. So the elves, they want to shoot in their turn. Now they've got priority in this case, so they're going to move forwards 3 inches. So that's less than half. Well, that is half of their movement. So it means they can still shoot, but they get a penalty. The orcs, they're just going to stay where they are. So we're going to shoot the elves first. So we're going to shoot this elf at this one. Now, because he's moved, it's a -1 modifier to his shooting. So he normally needs a 3, but now it means he needs a 4 because he's got a -1. So we roll, and he's got a 3. Because he moved, he wasn't able to hit this turn. So now we're going to try this wood elf over here. He's going to try to shoot this guy, and he has. So the elf has hit the orc, even though there was a penalty, and wounding is exactly the same as before. So strength 3 against defense 4. So he still needs 5. There's no penalty for moving against wounding. So he hasn't wounded in this case. So a big question is, what can a model shoot at? Now obviously, to start off with, you need to be in range. So you can check your range, as I've said before, under the bow's profile in the rulebook if you don't know. But an obvious thing, you need to be able to see the person you're shooting at. So this elf here, he can't see this orc. So simply he can't shoot the orc. In fact, There we go. Now he definitely can't see the orc, so he can't shoot the orc. But what if the orc was only partially obscured? So you could see quite a bit of the orc, well, some of the orc at least, not including his weapons or war gear, which doesn't count. But he can see the back of the orc's hand there. Well, you can still shoot at him, but of course, because he can't see him, there's a penalty. Because the elf, he might hit the tree, so you roll to hit as normal. So the elf, let's say he didn't move, he's got a 3, so he's hit. And there's a chance that you might hit the tree. So we do what we call an in the way roll. So it's quite simple. On a 1, 2 or 3, you hit the tree. On a 4, 5 or 6, your shot carries through into the orc. So we'll see. We've got a 1. So that means we've hit the tree. And you can't wound a tree. So the shot just finishes. There's nothing happens. You hit the tree, you might as well have just missed. But if you do get through and hit the orc on a 5, we've gone through, we've hit the orc, so we roll to wound as normal. So in this case, I've got a 6, so I've killed the orc. So I've done my roll to hit, I've rolled to get past the tree, and then I've rolled to wound the orc, and I've killed the orc. Each roll I've been successful at, which is very lucky. And quite fortunate as well. So what if we had 2 trees in the way? So the elf can still see through to the orc, but this tree partially obscures a bit of the orc, and this tree partially obscures another bit of the orc. So we do the same as before, but there's 2 trees, so there's 2 in the way roll. So we roll to hit, we've hit on a 3. We roll our first in the way roll, we've got past that in the way roll. On a 1, 2, 3 we fail, 4, 5, 6 we pass obviously, and then we do exactly the same for the next tree. 1, 2, 3 we fail, 4, 5, 6 we pass. So we've passed that in the way roll as well. So we've got through both the trees. Now we just need to try and wound the orc. On a 6 we do. I'm really wasting all of my good rolling. Another example is shooting through friendly models. So we've got this Uruk-hai scout here, and he's got some orcs in front of him. It's blocking his line of sight. And he's trying to shoot through and hit this elf down here. So that means that this orc is obscuring the elf, part of the elf, and this orc is obscuring part of the elf. So he needs to shoot through all these. So we'll roll, obviously, to hit first. He's failed, but let's pretend he hit. Let's pretend he got that 4, which he needs to hit. So he's got to do it in the way roll for the orc. It's exactly the same as if he's doing it in the way roll for a tree or anything else. We just take the roll, 1, 2, 3, hit the orc, 4, 5, 6, we don't. So here I've hit the orc, so the arrow goes straight into the orc. But you can wound an orc, so there's a chance I might kill my own orc. So it's just the same as rolling to wound anyone else. We check his strength, which is strength 2 from the bow, against his defense, which is defense 4. And if we check our chart, we'll find out that we need a 5 to wound, and we've got a 6. So in this case, we've shot and we've killed our own orc, and our shot hasn't gone through. It's hit the first obstacle and killed our own orc. I must stress though that only evil models can shoot through their own models. For example, if this elf was trying to shoot at the Uruk-hai over here, but there were a couple of Rohirrim he's allied with in the way. If there was any in the way, if either of these or any friendly model is in the way of the shot, and there's a chance that you might hit that friendly model, you can't do it. If you're playing as good cannot shoot and kill their own friendly models. You're not allowed to take the shot at all. So this good elf, this elf from one of the good faction books, is not able to shoot him at all because there is in the way rolls for the Rohirrim. So here we have an example of a Uruk-hai scout trying to shoot into a combat which has one of his friendly models in, this orc, and a Rohirrim. So he obviously wants to kill the Rohirrim, so he's going to try and shoot in a combat. So we roll to hit as normal. So let's pretend that was a 4, so we've hit. So he's gone fired his arrow straight into combat, but there's a chance he might hit his own model. So we roll the which is very similar to the in the way roll. So on a 1, 2, 3 we hit our own model. On a 4, 5, 6 we hit their model. So we roll that. We've hit their model. We've killed their model. When you're in combat like this, it doesn't matter whether there's actually an in the way for the combat, because in the combat you're moving around when you're fighting. There's always that chance you might hit your own model if they're in a combat like that. So even though the orc's behind him, we still might hit the orc because they're moving about a lot. So we need to do the in the way roll anyway, just because we're in combat. So we'll do that. Let's pretend we've hit. So we've hit, so we're firing into this combat. So 1, 2, 3, we might still hit that orc. So we didn't hit that orc again, but we didn't kill the Rohirrim. Another example is multiple friendlies in the combat. We've only fired one shot, so there's only a chance we'll kill one of them. So we'll roll to hit. Let's pretend we've hit. I'm so good at hitting now. So what happens is, I'm just going to rearrange them a bit for simplicity. We then roll to see if we hit one of ours. We haven't. So we've gone straight through. Fortunately we haven't hit one of ours, because on a 1, 2, 3 you hit one of yours. 4, 5, 6 you hit one of theirs. It doesn't matter how many people are in the combat. That is always the same. And we haven't killed the Rohirrim. But what happened if we did hit one of ours? So we got a 3 on the in the way roll. So we've hit one of our own models. Well, we see who is the closest of our models to the guy who's actually taking the shot, and then we roll to see whether he is wounded. So in this case, if we rolled the in the way roll, the into combat roll, and we hit one of our own models, it would be this orc here, because he is the closest to the guy who's actually firing the shot. It's not specified in the rulebook because whenever you're shooting into the combat with an evil model and you hit your own guy, you hit the closest model. But if there's two guys who are just as close and you can't tell who is the closest model, it's not said in the rulebook, that it doesn't say anything about this, but the easiest solution to it would just be to randomise. So there's two guys who are closest to him in this case. He's hit his own model, so he's failed his in the way. So we're just going to go, easy, 1, 2, 3 him, 4, 5, 6 him. So it's him. So then we can roll to wound him, and we don't wound him, so he's alright. I must stress though, if this was reversed and it was an elf or a friendly model, a good model shooting into the combat that contained another good model, it can't be done, because good models won't risk the lives of other good models, so they can't shoot into a combat with one of their own friendly models in. So, shooting at cavalry. Basically, it's just another in the way roll, really. There's a chance that you might hit the horse, and there's a chance that you might hit the rider. So, we roll to hit. Oh, yeah. We roll to hit. We've hit. So then we go to the in the way roll. So 1, 2, 3 we hit the horse. 4, 5, 6 we hit the rider. 1, 2, 3 we hit the horse. Now if you look in the defences for the rulebook, you'll find the profile for a horse, and he has a defence of 4. So you can just match up the strength, your strength 2, your defence 4, and we haven't wounded him because we needed a 5. It doesn't matter what their mount is, because, well, you'll always be able to find the stat line for that mount. Say if it was a fell beast, you find a fell beast stat line. With the ring raise, you can find the wag stat line in the rulebook and the pony stat line in the rulebook. Just to quickly go over this, if the rider is slain, this will be covered in the cavalry section hopefully, but if the rider is slain, the horse has because he has a fight value of 0 or an attack value of 0, when he doesn't have a rider anymore, the horse just flees. So you just remove the horse from the whole model as a casualty. So that's what happens if you shoot and kill the rider. But if you shoot and kill the horse, what happens is the rider is forced to take a fallen rider test. So you remove the cavalry model from play, replace him with a suitable dismount, equip the same, and then you equip the same, with the same satellite. So if it's a rider of Rohan, the obvious solution would be a warrior of Rohan. If it's a Wag rider, the obvious solution would be a orc. So what happens, he takes a fallen rider test. Now you can find the fallen rider test in the rulebook. Basically, you just roll 1 dice. I've got a 1 here, and that's the worst result. It means I've fallen to the ground, and I'm on the ground. Placed prone like so, and he takes 1 strength 3 hit from falling off his horse. So it's just resolved against his normal defense. So his defense there is 4. So he's not wounded. So strength 3 against defense 4, you need a 5. So he is not wounded. But he is stuck prone until it's his movement for him to be able to get up and move. So this example is just to show that in the way rolls do pretty much stack up. So when firing from this Uruk-hai, we fire, we see that there's an in-the-way roll for the tree against, so we're firing at the rider over here. We can see that there's an in-the-way for the tree firstly, then there's an in-the-way for this orc, then there's an in-the-way because he's in combat, so a special combat in the way. So we would have to, obviously first we'll need to hit. So if he hasn't moved, he's hitting on his normal shoot value. He missed, but we'll say he hit. There we go. So then firstly has to do the in the way for the tree, which he gets through. Then he would have to do another in the way, second in the way already for the orc. And he's hit the orc in this case, and he kills the orc in this case. But if he did get through the orc, he would then need to do another in the way to see whether he hits the orc in the combat or the rider. And if he did then go on to hit the rider, he would have to do another in the way to find out if he hits the horse or the rider. And then finally, after finding out whether he hits the horse or the rider, he would do the to wound roll. So sometimes with shooting, you can really stack up these in the way rolls. And your shots, obviously, for every in the way roll, it pretty much halves the chances of you hitting. So he's hitting on a 4-up anyway, so it's 50-50. Halves a quarter, halves an eighth, halves a 16th, halves into a 32? I don't know. But the chances of him obviously are really low that he's going to hit. So this is just an example of a risky shot you might want to take. So we've got the elf down here with his elf bow, and he wants to get a wound on Saruman for maybe a victory condition or something. So like we've said before, he would need to roll first to hit. And he hits on a 3 if he hasn't moved, of course. Then he has an in the way roll for, firstly, this guy, this rank here. So he's got an in the way roll for them, which he doesn't get through. So he hits this front rank. So he presumably hits the guy closest to him, so he hits him. And, well, cock dice, and he misses. He doesn't wound him. But obviously, if he had got through him, you would have to see if he gets through the second rank. If he didn't, he would roll to wound one of the orcs here. If he did, he would get through onto Saruman. Then he would have to find out if he's hit the horse or the rider. If he's hit the horse, just roll to wound the horse. If you kill the horse, obviously Saruman might fall down, so he would have to take a thrown rider. If he hits the Saruman himself, you would get to roll to see if you wound Saruman. So here we have an example where we have some thrown weapons. Now I did cover throwing weapons in the move phase because they can be used in the move phase or in the shooting phase. So if you obviously didn't charge into combat with them, so you presumably, you can make it into the combat or something, you can throw your throwing spears. Now they don't have the same restrictions as bows, so you can move your full movement and still throw your throwing spears or throwing weapons. Now throwing spears, and there's throwing spears and throwing daggers. Throwing spears are strength 3 and have range 8, whereas other throwing weapons, it will say what their range is, usually 6 for a throwing dagger. So that's what's quite good about throwing spears, their range 8. So all you need to do is, let's say these guys move in the move phase, you just measure your range as normal, and then you resolve your shooting as normal. So this guy's going to throw a spear at him, he's missed. This guy's going to throw a spear at him, he's also missed. So shooting is resolved in the same way, it's just a different range. And you can move your full move and still be able to fire. However, obviously, if you have moved, you still get the -1. So these guys would normally be hitting on 4s, but because they've moved, they would still get the -1. However, they can move their full move. So we'll just play out a quick example. The orcs move up. This guy moves closer to, maybe he was out of range, so he's moved in to get a shot, and this guy hasn't. So when rolling to hit, this guy, let's say he's moved, it doesn't matter how far he's moved, it only matters that he's moved. So we'll roll this stationary guy, the guy who didn't move. So he's going to throw his spear at him. Check his range, he's in 8 inches. And he's rolling to hit. He didn't hit, so he needed a 4 because that is his shoot value, and he didn't get a negative modifier because he didn't move. But this guy down here, he needs a 5, so he's going to try and throw his spear at this guy, and he also missed. He needed a 5 because he moved, and then after that, the shot is resolved exactly the same as if it were a bow, just of course with its strength of 3. Unfortunately, I don't have a crossbow model on hand, so we are just going to get this Uruk-hai Scout and pretend he has a crossbow. But the difference with crossbow is the only thing that's different with crossbow is that you can't move and fire your crossbow at all. So if you want to fire your crossbow, you can't move. If this guy had a crossbow and moved however much, it doesn't matter, cannot fire it. But that also means if he can't move, he can't get the negative modifier. So let's say he was an Uruk-hai warrior with crossbow, he would always be hitting on 4s, and the shot is resolved exactly the same. But then, of course, he would never get the minus modifier because he can't ever move and fire it. A couple of exceptions from in the way rolls is firing over a friendly model's shoulder. So normally, if these guys were just apart, this guy at the back wouldn't be able to shoot this orc because he can't shoot through the friendly. But if they're in base contact, only one model can fire over his shoulder. So you would assume maybe he's just, then strafing to the side or something in a way in which they can both fire the shot. In the same way you can fire over a friendly model's shoulder, you can also fire round an obstacle. So normally this would give the orc in the way. Because I'm in base contact with the tree, there's no in the way. Because he can just, you would imagine he can just, bend round the tree and fire the shot. As long as he is in base contact. However, if, say, the tree was in base contact with another tree, that doesn't matter. You would still need to do the in the way for this tree here. So I'm just going to go over firing a lot of bows at once. Now you can do this. All these 3 elves here all have the same bow. So we can just throw them all in together if they're all shooting at similar targets. So we've got over here, we've got a load of orc warriors. Because they're the same defense, what we can do is we can say, right, I'm going to fire these 3 bows, these 3 elf bows, and we're going to fire them at these various orcs. Now what we do is we just roll to hit, so we get 1 hit in this case. Let's just say we got a bit, oh my gosh, 1 hit again. Okay, let's pretend we got 3 hits just for the purpose of this. So we get all 3 of them hits. Now we go, well, I'm going to put the first one to him, second one to him, third one to him. Now we can either roll, alright, first one, no, second one, yeah, no, sorry, third one, no. But what's usually the case is roll them all together and we say, I'm going to go first guy, second guy, third guy. I just roll them all together. In this case, none of them are dead, but in this case, one of them's dead, so the first guy's died. And that's exactly the same as saying I'm going to resolve the first one on him. No, I'm going to put the same shot, another shot onto him. No, I'm going to put another shot on him. It's exactly the same as doing that in game. That won't wound. There's no difference to the statistics, so it doesn't change the game. Yeah. So that is also the same as going, I'm going to fire him, hit, wound, fire him, at him, hit, wound. It's exactly the same as putting all your shots into him until he dies, and then putting the rest of your shots into him until he dies. So that's a quicker way of doing it. However, if you have somebody with a different kind of bow, you can't just throw him in to the, with the rest of the bows, because it will most likely, you'll be wounding on something different to, the stronger bows will be wounding on something different to the weaker bows. In the same way as, say, if this Uruk-hai was in here, and I said, oh, I'm going to roll to wound, oh look, I've got a 5. Yes, that 5 would wound the orc, but if I'm putting my first shot onto this Uruk-hai, I'm saying 1, 2, 3, I can't wound this orc, can I, this Uruk-hai with a 5. So I can't just say, well, I've got a 5, so I don't, so I just kill him without killing him. You can't do that. So if you wanted to do that, you could roll your hits, roll to hit, and then separate out your dice. So I'll go, well, I'm going to put the first one onto him, because he's a different defense, I need to roll him separately. So I'm going to roll my first one, I haven't wounded him. Then roll my second one, haven't wounded him. So you'd keep going that till he's dead, and then you can throw in the rest of the guys with all the same defense. You can do, alright, well, the rest of my shots, 1, 2, 3, boom, if it's the same defense. Also, in the same way, you can have these 2 Uruks like this. You can roll your hits. Say we got what we did, we got all 3 hits. First one on him, so there's 2 of them, so you can put the first 2 are just going to go onto them, with him being the first target. So you can throw them together. Say we got 1, 6, well, he's killed, but he isn't. So with our third shot, we can choose. We can say, well, I might as well put this one to him. But I mean, now's a clear path. We can shoot into these guys here, like so, and I've done nothing. Or we could have put it onto him. That should hopefully come with time. That understanding of firing the bows will come with time when you fired, a lot of bows. So yeah, because it seems extremely complicated when I'm saying it, but honestly, it's quite simple when you understand it. It's something you can just easily do every game. Another thing is sometimes just to save time, because this guy's got a different defense, different strength, we can just throw him in as a different coloured dice. So when we get to that dice, when we've rolled our hits, let's say he did hit this time, he didn't, so the others did. When we get to him, we're like, well, I need to do him separately. I need to roll to wound with him separately because he's wounding differently. You just need to remember that. So that is shooting. Next we'll be doing the combat phase. If there's anything that I might have missed from the shooting phase, feel free to comment. If you like the series, obviously, please don't be afraid to like it. And if there's anything else you would like to see covered, please feel free to put it into the comments. If you want to see any more of our strategy battle game content, don't forget to subscribe, this has been Front Room Gamers, and we'll see you all next time.